free time. I can learn, sort of. So welcome to the June 27th Planning Commission. I know this is a kind of special meeting because of the holiday shifting, because we're usually first and third meetings of the month. So welcome. And before we get started, the planning director will read the preamble and then we'll call the roll.
Good morning, everyone. In compliance with notification requirements of Ohio's open meeting law and section 101.021 of the codified ordinances of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, notice of this meeting has been publicly posted. All boards and commissions under the purview of the City Planning Department conduct their meetings in a manner modeled after Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by voice vote. Recusals from any vote due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the taking of any vote. In order to ensure that everyone participating in the meeting has the opportunity to be heard, we ask that online participants use the raise hand feature before asking a question or making a comment. The raise hand feature can be found in the participants panel on the desktop and mobile version and activated by clicking the hand icon. Please wait for the chair or facilitator to recognize you and be sure to select unmute and announce yourself before you speak. When finished speaking, please lower your hand by clicking on the raise hand icon again and mute your microphone. We will also be utilizing the chat feature to communicate with participants. The chat feature can be activated by clicking the chat button located on the bottom of the WebEx screen. All meeting activity is being recorded via the WebEx platform. These proceedings are also being live streamed via YouTube. All requests to speak on a particular matter submitted through the proper channels have been considered. We have also received emails from those who have provided written comment on a particular matter. Proper channels for comment are listed below. Communication with members of this body must follow proper channels for consideration. Any comments received by the Wednesday noon deadline are collected by city planning staff and disseminated to the commission members prior to any scheduled meeting. Proper channels for public comment are sending an email to the cityplanning@clevelandohio.gov address with a comment or a letter, calling and or leaving a message at 216-664-2210, sending a letter or dropping off comments at City Hall, 601 Lakeside Avenue, Suite 501, Cleveland, Ohio, 44114. And now our meeting rules and procedures. The chair will call each agenda item and then each applicant will be invited to proceed through their presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the commission in order to facilitate a smooth presentation. Once the presentation has concluded, the chair will ask planning staff to summarize design review advisory committee recommendations, if applicable, and any public comments received. Public comments received through the proper channels by the deadline are distributed to commission members prior to the meeting. Staff will also identify any members of the public present and scheduled to speak. Public comment is allowed at the discretion of the chair, and any individual providing public comment is permitted 2 minutes to speak to the agenda item in which they have an interest. The chair will then request a recommendation from staff if applicable. The commission will then begin deliberations and project review. Any commission member except the chair may make a motion at any point after an agenda item has been called.
Can we call the roll?
Anthony?
Present.
Luker?
Present.
Curry?
Present.
Gray Scott?
Present.
Sargent?
Present.
And Slife?
Present.
We have a quorum. That's a good morning, everyone. The first item is to approve the minutes from the June 6th meeting. We got them in advance. There's a copy here if anybody needs them.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the meeting minutes as presented.
No second. A motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony?
Abstain.
Luker?
Yes.
Curry?
Yes.
Gray Scott?
Yes.
Sargent?
Abstain.
And Slife?
Yes.
Motion carried. The first item is a conditional use, which is a public hearing. So I'm going to read the, you have to hold on for a second, because zoning matters are public hearing and they have separate guidelines. Here they come. I have them on my computer, but it'd be easier if you
Thank you.
hand them to me. There you go. Which means that first, for public hearing and zoning matters, the staff will present on the matter, in this case, conditional use. And then the sponsors of the legislation, either councilperson, the owner, where applicable, will then speak. Then I will open it up to public comment. Since it is a public hearing, we will hear testimony or questions from those who are in favor of the zoning matter first, and then we will ask for those opposed. Before you give your view, we ask that you state your name clearly and your address, and especially, or your business, but if you're a homeowner, your name and address if you're affected. And we ask that you speak for no more than 3 minutes or less. So with that, the first item is a large residential facility for 12 people at 4807 Denison Avenue. Xavier, I think you are presenting this one.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the commission. I am giving you the presentation for the conditional use for a large residential facility proposing to be located at 4807 Denison Avenue. And so on the screen here, thanks, Evelyn, you'll see that there's a map on the top right that shows you where the existing residential facilities are, with a 1,000-foot buffer being the red highlight. And then you can see the proposed location is the red star outlined in yellow near the bottom of the map here. And so you're seeing this because anytime that an applicant is proposing a residential facility that is occupying more than 5 persons or in a multifamily zoning district, they're required a conditional use approval from this body. And so this is going to be a state licensed residential care facility, class 2, designated by the state. Next slide, please. And so here I just have a zoning map. You could flip to the next slide too, just showing you that this is in the general retail zoning district. You can see it's also adjacent to some industrial uses and residential neighborhoods north of Denison. And so your primary criteria that you're determining to approve these facilities are listed here. And so you're really just checking, is this facility within 1,000 feet of another currently existing facility? Your another criteria is, looking at the proposed use, if there's going to be any changes to the current property that might distinguish it differently from the residential character of the neighborhood, making sure that this use is compatible with other uses nearby, and making sure that this facility meets all applicable yard parking and sign regulations of the zoning code. And so the proposal isn't going to be changing any of the exterior of the home to really change it so it doesn't look like a home. It's just going to look like a larger home on Denison Avenue. This street, I'll give you a little bit of context. Denison has a variety of uses between retail and residential, and it's adjacent southward to a large industrial district. And so, yeah, that's all I have to share on this slide. Next slide, please. And then I just have some context photos showing you left and right of the property, some of the other residential character of the neighborhood. Next slide, please. So here's the site plan, just showing you that nothing, is changing on the property. Next slide, please. Then we also have floor plans, and the applicant is actually here, I believe, Ruben Robinette. Yeah. Feel free to come up and share any extra details in case the commission might have other questions pertaining to your facility. Nice to meet you in person. Sorry. I'll just close by saying, repeating the standards you're looking at, is this facility within 1,000 feet of another facility? Are they changing anything on the home that may distinguish it from the residential character of the neighborhood, and making sure that it meets all the yard and parking zoning requirements of the zoning code? I'll allow the applicant to speak any further if you have any specific questions for them. I'll just mention that this won't require any variances from the Board of Zoning Appeals because they're not within 1,000 feet of another facility. And the use for 6 to 16 occupants of this kind of residential group home or residential care facility is allowed in the general retail zoning district. So you're just, double checking the character of this facility, making sure it's not changing too much to vary from the residential character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Can you both state your name and your relationship to the project, and then go ahead and.
Yes, Ruben Robinette, I'm the owner of the facility.
My name is Ty Bromond and I own the facility. Well, own the house.
Oh, yeah, current owner.
Yeah.
Are you selling the house to? Or?
No. In the past, when we worked together, I'll purchase the property, I'll do all the updates, I'll do all the fire protection type stuff, and then he actually physically runs the facility.
Got it. Okay.
So I'm just renting the property from him, essentially. So the intent of the residential care facility is to provide a safe and comfortable home for individuals that have mental health diagnosis and need placement. Many facilities are being shut down and licenses revoked due to unsafe living conditions and mistreatments of residents. A good quality home will prevent residents from going back to the streets. And residents in my facility will always get the proper support that they need. Friends and families of residents will have peace of mind that they are in a great home and they are safe. The location is ideal. Just like Xavier was saying, that it's off of a main street. We're limited with neighbors in the back and all that. There is a big gap between our neighbors to our right. And there are bus lines 18, 25, and 71, all within walking distance. There's local food marts like Safeway Food Mart, Dollar General, Dave's Market, several gas stations. They're all within walking distance. I believe when I checked, there was like a 12-minute walk to get to these places and the bus lines. There will be employment opportunities for locals, and the facility would support local businesses through outings and catering from local restaurants. The location is also ideal for case managers from all agencies because of the highway location, and also Recovery Resources. The agency is about 6 minutes away from the address, so it's very ideal for them for appointments and stuff like that. The services that I will be providing is administering of medications. The meds will always be supervised. All meds will be centrally locked and secured with only staff having access. There will be 24/7 staffing to ensure the state rules are met. Residents will go through interview process to ensure that they're a good fit for the home. Because at the end of the day, I don't worry about one resident, I worry about the whole household. So I want to make sure that everyone is a good fit for the home. And there will be 3 nutritious meals a day with snacks in between, laundry services for all residents on a weekly basis, cable, Wi-Fi, streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that is provided to all the residents and no cost to them. And we do monthly outings like bowling, movies, Golden Corral, cookouts, stuff like that. And there will be added safety and security measures like security cameras in all living areas. And then we will have a monitored fire alarm system also installed. And these are some of the exterior photos. I was limited how many photos I can upload, but we also have a porch on the front of the house there. It kind of wraps around the side a little bit. There's also a bench for the guys to smoke or drink coffee. Gives them something, somewhere to go outside to sit down. There's a big driveway in the front for staffing, case managers, visitors, families, friends. And then going down the driveway towards the back, there's a big driveway back there for all visitors and whoever is there to turn around safely. That way we're not backing into main traffic and causing a traffic jam and stuff like that. And I also want to point out that we do have a 6-foot privacy fence around the whole backyard. That way the residents are getting privacy and so are the neighbors. Oh, next slide. And then these are some of the interior photos. The whole house has been renovated. Everything that I was limited on photos, but the bottom 2 from the right side, those 2 are the some of the bedrooms, and all the other rooms are exactly the same carpet, same wall color, everything is the same. And then we have the dining room, living room, and the kitchen, everything fully renovated, new appliances and everything. And that was it.
Thank you. The commission might have questions, but first we'll take public comment. So if there is someone here to speak in favor of this zoning, conditional use, change, or has a question, or online, just raise your hand if you're here. I don't see anyone. Is there anyone opposed to this conditional use? Close the public portion, and ask commission members if they have any questions, comments.
Chair, to the applicant, just curious, how many other facilities do you operate? And what is the average stay of the clients at the facility?
Yes, so I probably should have started off with an introduction to myself. I barely passed public speaking in college, so bear with me here. So I've been doing this for nearly 10 years now. I have two facilities that have 10 or more residents in them. The one is in Parma and the other one is in Parma Heights. One has 10 residents, the other one 11 residents. The reason I got into this is because I've been through other facilities and I've seen the quality of care that some of the residents are getting and the living conditions, and that urged me to do better for them. And that's why I'm expanding to try to give those residents a better quality of life. So on a day-to-day basis, it varies because appointments or family visits, they work part-time or they like to go on walks, but basically, they would eat their breakfast. We would administer the medications. And then after that, usually some of them go for walks or they go to the store. Some have appointments with their caseworker, stuff like that. And then they would come back, they would eat lunch, do the medications. And then same thing, they can go out, go for walks, do whatever they want. And then come back for dinner. And then in the evening, we do medications. And then at that point, they can also do whatever they want. They just have a curfew. They have to be back by 11 o'clock. Unless they give us a heads up and let us know that they're going with family or someone like that, which then we also call the family to confirm that that's where they're going. Because I like to know where all my residents are at all times.
But it's a long-term, facility, so
Yes.
people are staying long-term.
Yes.
So-
Some of my residents have been with me for over 8 years. So I built a very strong relationship throughout the years that I've been doing this with mental health agencies like Recovery Resources, Signature Health, the centers, the Adams Board. They love the quality of work that I do and they see how good of work I do for the residents. So I actually have a long wait list right now of residents that are waiting to move into my facility. So.
Madam Chair, to the applicant, it's beautiful. I applaud your efforts and it's much needed. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Madam Chair, to staff and to the applicant, I think this is a model presentation. It was the right amount of information. They can get in the weeds. We understand your mission, your value, and understand how this facility should be run. So I'd like to use this as a case example of how to present for a conditional use permit. Thank you.
And next time I'll start with an introduction.
Yeah.
So we, anyone want?
Sure. I move to approve the conditional use of an adult care facility as presented with no additional requirements and or zoning that's required.
And I second.
Excuse me, can you please, just add like some rationale? I do have the criteria on the screen
okay.
here. So that
Okay, I'll amend my motion to include that it appears that they've met the standard of care for the conditional use, that they're not located within 1,000 feet. The architectural site layout, et cetera, is complementary to surrounding and adjacent structures in the neighborhood. And the facility meets the applicable yard parking and sign regulations.
And I second.
Motion and a second, call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Murray,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your investment in the city of Cleveland.
Thank you.
I hope it's been a good process for you.
Yes.
Has it?
Yes, it has.
That's good. It's good to hear. See? I want that as the press. Where are the reporters? To get through the city of Cleveland. There you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, next item is a lot split and consolidation. I'm joking, but not joking. Director. Lot split and consolidation. This is at 3801 John Avenue, 003-0-30070. Are you Benjamin?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
All right. I believe they have your slides.
Okay, good morning. My name is Ben Stafford. I'm with Chagrin Valley Engineering. We prepared a lot split plat at 3807 John Avenue, parcel 003-30070. The purpose for pursuing the lot split is to formally recognize the existing conditions of the property, which contains two separate multifamily structures that function independently of one another. Although the current parcel designates them under a single commercial lot, the buildings have always been physically detached and independently utilized. The goal is so that each building can be evaluated on its own merit, which would better reflect the residential nature and potentially allow for more accurate property valuation. It offers future flexibility, including the option to convert one building to single family or sell one or both structures independently. We believe this will increase overall property value and marketability in both sale and rental scenarios. This was kind of the explanation from the property owners following the last discussion at this meeting. The front building has steps and access to John Avenue with a gate. The rear building has an independent door, kind of central in the back building towards John Court, and a sidewalk and access to the front of the building on that kind of southwest corner. Just making sure I'm not missing anything on this slide. Zoning code, two-family district in Ohio City. Could you go to the next slide? This is the frontage for the front building on John. The utilities, which are spread across the tree lawn, there are some that would overlap. So initially, when I brought this in, we had an access easement because we were discussing with the owner, would like to add some parking for the residents. At this time, we're not designing a driveway or planning one, just as a complication to the plat. The utilities overlap somewhat. There's gas lines that would cross the water lines on the lawn area. So the plan is to include a statement on the legal descriptions that I prepared, recognizing the open area between the two lots as a utility easement, as a blanket easement, instead of doing a kind of overlapping easement. Currently, we have county approval on the plat, and we have city pre-approval based on this meeting and a review from Building and Housing, also discussion. You go through the next couple slides. It's just the frontage photos of the buildings. So that kind of shows the service walk, the bottom left there near that garage, and there's a central door by those garbage cans. The electric and cable are fed overhead from that pole crossing John Court. Keep going through these. This is a little bit of the utility information. I know we kind of discussed this last time. The sewer connection, our blind connections and cleanouts weren't available. The same with the water connections. We did find inconsistency in the valves and meters, but that's pretty typical. So we did find a meter and a water valve, which are shown on the first slide, but they're shown in the center there. And then the gas connections are newly replaced. They're separated by about 12 feet. So the whole open area is covered in utilities. And the next slide, I think, is the full plat. The rear lot won't meet the minimum square footage, but I believe we've met every other item needed. There was concern over the fire separation between the buildings. What Shane Shua had provided was table that represented a 5-foot setback. The front building has a 10-foot setback from the newly created line, and the rear building's like 11.8, I believe. That detail's on the first slide. If you don't mind going back. Yeah, so that kind of covers the detail of the site currently. No planned improvements at this time. That's all I have.
Any questions or comments? I did see here that there was a note that to recommend this conditionally from staff. I don't know if everyone read this, just to be able to make sure that there was some additional review around fire separation.
Yes, Chair, the note is reflecting some of the Planning Commission's previous comments around wanting to make sure that the parcel lines meet fire code and don't cause any complications for the building. So the applicant has coordinated with plats and surveys, and that review will happen as needed. So that's not a concern here, but we did want to address
Okay.
that brought up by the
But was
commission
it-
previously.
I guess my question was, as you were presenting, was it that review happened and it's complete, or it's not?
Yes, they have coordinated with plats.
We're in the process, yeah.
Or you're in the process?
Yeah,
Okay.
it hasn't been
Approved.
approved from them.
Well, you've been talking to them.
Mhm.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, I
It's-
coordinated with the, I can't think of the name right now, the fire representatives
Yeah.
and he said it wasn't a concern for a lot split. But the last time we were here, you guys recommended,
Okay.
forgetting the building and housing.
Yeah. Okay, just wanted to check.
So I have to go through the permit process and
Process.
have that.
Good. I guess I'm asking, it doesn't need to be a condition of this.
Since that's what was recommended from our departmental colleagues, yes, we would recommend that.
Okay. All right, commission members? Might have been your comment.
Yes.
So how do you feel about it?
I'm fine. It appears that the applicant has done their due diligence and I believe can move forward. So therefore I move to approve the plan as submitted with the condition that they continue to work with City of Cleveland staff and the various departments to iron out all the outstanding issues.
A motion, do we have a second?
A sec.
Motion in 2 seconds. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry.
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slife.
Motion carries. All right, good luck.
Okay,
Thank you so
thank you
much. Next item, I'd like to point out, I believe this is the first time that we will be reviewing something that is coming through the new form-based code. So it is a design review matter. I heard the councilman groan over there. Oh, okay. It was, so yes, so let's see how the streamlining works, and hopefully you will attest to the fact that this has been an amazing process. So this is form-based code review. And for those of you in the audience, this has been a long time coming because there was a long process to pilot the form-based review, get it approved, get it through council. And so if this works really well for you, you're going to help the whole city of Cleveland. So there you go. It's a lot of pressure. This is the Hough Senior Independent Living at 8910 Hough Avenue in Ward 7. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
Yeah.
Okay, I think staff, you can go first. Okay, so go ahead, Shannon.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commission members. Thank you, Shannon Leonard, Chief Zoning Administrator. So this is the Hough Senior Project. Next slide, please. So the process with the new form-based code, as you kind of just gave an overview, is that Anything that's over 20,000 square feet or 20 plus units will go through the process of working with myself and my staff, as well as go through a technical review committee, which is also known as PETBOT, and then they come here to you. There's no design review. The design review was embedded in the ordinance itself, and so they haven't actually gone to any kind of local design review committee, but they have gone through, worked with staff, did some revisions, and then went through PETBOT as well. And then any of the nonconformities they initially had were addressed. And then here we are today for you guys to make the final decision. Next slide, please.
What's the length of that process?
It started, I believe, they originally sent out in February, and then they made some revisions to become more form-based code compliant in May. And they kind of went out of order with PETBOT because it was this new project with the planner and things like that. So, but that process, so I think it started initially about 3 or 4 months, yeah.
And the project might have taken a lot longer?
It would have taken significantly probably longer because local design review for this would require, I think, the full 3 meetings or 6 meetings.
Good.
And so the current zoning at this site here at Hough is urban flex 3. So the intent of that is really your more moderate intensity mixed use with a variety of residential as well as some neighborhood retail service and commercial uses. And then there's a real emphasis on having a vibrant pedestrian friendly environment. Next slide, please. And then the 3 represents a maximum height of 3 stories. This is just giving you some conditions at Hough, East 89th Street. Next slide. Where you see the star is the actual location. There's a variety of different building typologies here. Next slide, please. This is just giving you some context as well as looking down Hough. And then where the star is the vacant site where this proposed senior living is. Next slide. Next slide. And so this was the original plan that came in February, and when we announced that that they needed to follow the urban flex rules, and the document that I gave you, if you turn it over, you can kind of see what those site conditions and site requirements are in terms of the massing and things of that. And so this was a very non-compliant plan initially, but after working with staff, next slide please, and going through TRC, Technical Review Committee / PETBOT, they have moved into a fully zoning compliant plan with some administrative modifications for you all to consider today as well. Next slide, please. And so the relief items that they sought and that they qualify for here is the minimum active depth along the side street, along East 89th Street. So we can grant up to a 20% relief. There's some of the closets that are in the living room kind of add into that active space. So they're slightly over the maximum and active use. But we feel from a zoning perspective that it doesn't make that much of a deal. And we don't want to defeat their design just for a very small fraction. And then the maximum spacing of street facing entries, because it is senior living, they have a 75-foot spacing maximum between doors. And so we can grant up to a 15% relief. And so we do have that relief available. And for what they're proposing, they're proposing 76.3. So basically 1.3 feet off on their spacing, and so they do qualify for the maximum spacing relief. Next slide. And so the approval criteria here is that for you all is that it meets all Cleveland Code requirements, which from a zoning code perspective it does. It meets your design review guidelines that have been adopted by the commission. It will not adversely affect the context of the neighborhood in terms of traffic, parking, public health, safety, and welfare. And then it will not result in any kind of destruction, damage, or natural of any historic sites or features. And that's it. And then they can walk you through their proposal.
And they have your slides, so.
Yep, and that was, the final proposed plan for you guys. Yep. Next slide.
Well, thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that. Good morning, commission members. As Shannon mentioned, Hough Senior, it is an independent living, affordable senior development. My name is Brian Grambort. I think I've been here maybe 3 times in a row now. So, but this is a new one for us. And if I could speak to the process a bit.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think initially, understanding the urban flex requirements, I think back in February, there was still maybe a little bit of conflicting information on city reference websites, reference things like that. But I believe a lot of that has been resolved, and Shannon and Kayla have been really helpful in helping us understand and interpret the codes. I think as you mentioned, Shannon, a couple of the challenges this building, and you'll see being one entity, not a lot of mixed use on the ground floor. We had some challenges with the entrances. I think the form-based code is intended for more of a mixed use setup. So, but like I said, Shannon has been good helping us through that, trying to be as compliant as possible. So, so with that, we are joined online by an representative of the owner, CHN Housing Partners. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Gabriella, and she will walk you through the design.
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, commission members. So the site is located, as is showing the red polygon, along Hough Avenue between East 89 and East 90. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Bless you. If we go into the immediate context, where the project is surrounded by multifamily housing and single-family housing. Next slide, please. If we expand our immediate context towards the left side, we have mostly residential uses, and to just the left side is where we have a small mixed use and commercial uses around. The project is located along also the Cleveland RTA bus route. So we have also a bus station in our area with the green dots, they are located there. And also with the blue dots, we're able to see where is the parking locations available in all of these, in those areas. Next slide, please. The existing conditions of the site is constituted by 8 parcels that they're gonna be combined together for this project. We have a little bit of existing trees remain, but there's not another construction existing in the project. Next slide, please. This is a view of the existing conditions of the site from the corner of Hough Avenue and East 89. As you're able to see, we have one of the bus station hydrant there towards Hough, and towards East 89, we have existing lot area that is recessed from the corner, and some utility lines that are a little bit long towards that side. Next slide, please. This is the context along Hough Avenue. The top pictures are in front of the property, and the ones below are along the side of Hough Avenue. So they, as we see, they are predominantly 2 to 3 floor buildings. Just the one in front is around 9 stories. Next slide, please. This is the context along East 89. The top pictures are aligned towards property, and the ones in the bottom are the ones that are in front of our property. Also, as you see, mostly residential, multifamily, and single-family homes. Next slide, please. This is our site plan. As mentioned, we have multiple amenities in the site for residents, from picnic shelter, bike storage towards the bottom right of the top right of our property. We have our main access through Hough Avenue and our secondary drive access through East 90, where it's connected to our parking lot, and through the parking lot, we have our secondary access there. Our site is fully east fenced towards the properties nearby, with a decorative fence along the areas that are visible exposed to the streets. We have raised elevated gardens for the residents, and also a 40 total parking spaces with 4 accessible parkings, 80 accessible parking spaces there. This is a 3-story project with 55 units. Our main trash disposal is towards East 89, just at the bottom corner. Next slide, please. This is our landscape plan. This also was based on the requirements of the form-based code, with raised curved gardens in the front of Hough and East 89. Next slide, please. The following slide is going to be a little bit of a list of the code requirements that the form-based give to the project. So these first ones correspond to the site. So that goes over the site width, the number of units, and the streetscape that we are complying with. Next slide, please. This second slide also refers to site amenities in this case that we're providing for the user. That includes the back storage, the raised garden planters, and our cover reed entry towards back. Next slide, please. And this one starts a little bit with the site conditions regarding to the setback that was different from the previous zoning that have pushed the building or the shape of the buildings towards Hough and towards East 89. Next slide, please. These parameters now correspond to the building massing that goes from the building height, sizes of that one, the story height that we were asking the relief for that was probably solved by Shannon, and also this part covers the part of the doors. So the flat elevations are showing the distances over doors that for our property management requirements, we requested the relief to be able to meet the property functionality of our building. Since they are seniors, they require a little bit, the property manager have more control over the access that we have towards the building. Next slide, please. This is an axonometric views from our project. The first one towards the top is from the rear side that we are able to see the secure drive gate where we have our masonry building side. We are able to see the fence along the side, the ones that are private fence versus the ones that are decorative fence all along, and also our amenities towards that, like the picnic shelter and the outdoor pack storage. And the axonometric that is in the bottom is showing the frontage of the buildings. How is the relationship with the site with the new streetscape improved there too? Next slide, please. And this goes over more of the function of the building. In the first floor, we have services for the property manager of management of the building that are highlighted in blue. The green ones corresponds to the resident units already in the project. In the central part, centralized are the support spaces like the vertical access. And in the bottom, we have our supported spaces like the compactor room area. Next slide, please. The upper floor plan follows the same logic in the upper level, in the second and the third floor, where we have primarily mass residential unit and just the services centralized in the middle with the vertical circulation part. Next slide, please. This is a roof plan where we have just a small mechanical pit in the top. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of the analysis done for the massing and color palette selection for the project. These are referenced along Hough Avenue. That's from this one, the massing, the composition and proportion was taken for Hough Senior to be able to connect more with the environment, with the fabric, urban fabric nearby. Next slide, please. And these are the reference along East 89 that also helped to shape the way the logistic, the character of the building. Next slide, please. This is our north elevation where we have our main entrance. So we can see in the urban profile, the relationship of the massing and the shapes that the building has in reference with the buildings nearby, and also the distances that they have around them. Next slide, please. And this is the west elevation towards East 89, showing also the proportion of the buildings and the distance into with the already existing buildings around. Next slide, please. And this is our south and east elevation. The highlighted corners are the one that kind of face the small projects, the small existing projects that are near to us. Next slide, please. And this is our material board of the different materials used along of our project. Next slide, please. These are some exterior renderings from the gardening areas, our parking lot in the rear, and the back storage, and the corner that we have seen in the East 89 and Hough Avenue. Next slide, please. And this corresponds to the landscape planting list. The different trees is going to be along the project, in the perimeter and inside. Next slide, please. And this corresponds to the other bushes and other decorative planting inside the project. Thank you. That will be the end of our presentation.
Thank you. Commission members? Questions or comments?
I do have a question. How many square feet is each unit? Are they all one bedroom, two bedroom?
All of them are around one bedroom.
How many square feet?
Around 624.
Is it LIHTC? It's a LIHTC, CHN LIHTC.
Right.
LIHTC.
Do have a question about your statement in the beginning concerning confusion relative to access to codes and everything. Could someone sort of enlighten us why that happened, and if it exists, how it's going to be managed?
I go first, and then he can give us their viewpoint. But I think what happened here is we have, the city planning commission, neighborhood planners are used to collecting projects on the front end prior to them going to zoning, right? And then having with them as well, there's been some staff that's been in and out of the office. And so I think there was a little bit of confusion in touch points in that regard. And, managing that is just training staff. And we have been working with the planners from a zoning perspective on form-based code and helping them learn the new process. And I think, beyond that, with the code itself was maybe they were not sure whether they were supposed to follow. I think they maybe thought that you knew that you follow the form-based code process, but I think there was some confusion around when to go to PetBot, when not to go to PetBot, and then not having that one-point contact in this area. That staff member has been in and out of the office for family, and so that can be managed for sure, and just training and those types of things.
Yeah, if I could add to that. So this might get into the weeds a little bit with LIHTC. There is a very specific chronology of how the projects develop, when awards are made, and when you have to submit an 80% set. So you have to move from an award to 80% complete construction documents relatively quickly. Just the timing of that, the awards were made just prior to the initiation of the form-based code, which is when we do all of our site design work as analysis, and we really rely on the website, the GIS website. At the time, I believe that when you clicked on the parcel, you have to turn on certain layers to allow that information to appear. And so at the time, and it's been corrected now, but at the time when you clicked on the parcel, it still showed the old zoning. You had to then click another layer that turned on all of the form-based code information. I believe that that's been resolved. So now the parcel is identified as being under the form-based code. So that was just part of the miscommunication, I think. And then obviously moving through that process for us, and then the form-based code being enacted, we did not go back, and that's our issue, to go back and reconfirm what that zoning was because we had already done our zoning. But like I said, I feel like that's been resolved now, especially going through and checking for other projects. So
You were the first.
yep.
You had to go. And you, from your point of view, you do a lot of projects. Do you feel like this is going to help a lot in the future?
I do. I think the form-based code, how it's written, I mean, there's always going to be interpretations needed and maybe an FAQ, some clarifications, but I feel like it's very clear.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful. Yeah.
And it's helped timing wise and.
I mean, obviously
Yeah.
not with us, but yes,
but it
I can
will.
definitely
You can
see
see that it will.
how it can be more efficient.
It's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so I'll just qualify. If you went back to the presentation that I did, the original plan that they submitted was a almost zoning compliant project under the original zoning, which was multifamily. But they did not meet the area requirements of that. So that would have required a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals. And it also didn't address like amenity space, streetscape space, things of those natures. So when, we had announced to them that, this is in the form-based code area, that's when they said, we want to do a form-based code compliant project. And so that's where that delay was from February to May.
I would like to say, notwithstanding the issues, obviously, it's still a pilot. I think if looking at where you started versus where we are today, is superior sighting, the building addresses the corner, the parking is tucked away, the massing windows, just the overall feel and look of the project, I believe is successful. I think it speaks to the form-based code, right? Because it's prescriptive, and I think that's a win in my mind. We'll figure out the process, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thanks.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Hough Senior Independent Living Project.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Slay.
Motion carries. I'd like to suggest a plaque for the first project that made it through the form-based code. All right. The next design review item is whoops, I'm on the wrong page. Is Northeast St. Clair 2025-014 St. Clair-Superior Wayfinding Site Program. This is signage. If you look there, it was given final approval with a condition to consider adding seating to the gateway options if proposal location is near the sidewalk, and someone could address that. And you should have forever, but I have to swear you in, but you should have forever swearing in. Do you swear to tell the truth? Perpetuity. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury?
I do. I'm actually joined by members of Guide Studio.
Oh, okay.
So
Can
you
they
may
say,
need to sign
yeah.
in it.
Can you guys say I too? Who is?
I do.
I too. Is that Kevin and?
It's Erica and Day.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Terry Hamilton Brown with St. Clair-Superior Development Corporation. I'm the executive director. As I just mentioned, I am joined by our design consultants from Guide Studio, Erica, Kevin, and Day, who are with us virtually. And are we to give the full presentation?
No, just, I mean, if it's long, I would just hit what you think we need to hear. Yeah.
Okay, Erica, are you
Mhm.
going to lead or Kevin?
Yep, we're both here and we are ready to go. So if we could just go to the next slide. I didn't know if Terry, you want to just introduce the project, how it came about.
Well, this is a wayfinding and branding signage program, and it actually started several years ago, but I am so delighted to be part of completing the project. We are interested in creating a welcoming and identifiable entry point into the St. Clair-Superior development community. And we have come up with a brand or a pattern that represents the diversity of our community. In fact, we're sort of in the spirit of saying we're one community with many cultures. And so the design that the team has put together sort of amplifies that. Go ahead.
All right, great. So we put, if we could go back one. We put together a steering committee and worked with that steering committee to talk about destinations in the neighborhood. As you know, we cannot put every destination on a sign, or vehicular signs are only limited to 3 or 4 messages. So we need to create a hierarchy. So as you can see on the right, those are the destinations that the steering committee came up with as kind of the top destinations in the neighborhood area. If you go to the next slide. This is the pattern that Terry was discussing as a one community with lots of different cultures coming together kind of in this pattern. And this will be used throughout the sign program and any banners and any other communications that maybe St. Clair-Superior would like to use it on as well. Go to the next slide. This is kind of breaking down the pattern into the different cultures and how we're using the different symbols and flags and how it kind of came together is how you can see on that first page. Also utilizing the, St. Clair-Superior is a neighborhood that has lake access. So we want to make sure that people understand that they can connect with the lake and the nature in Cleveland. So it's one of those neighborhoods that does have that access. Definitely want to showcase that, as well as all of these cultures. You can go to that next slide. These are some of the colors that we are using in the color palette, and then the fonts and the material selection as well. And now we'll talk about the sign family, and I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This first page just shows the family from a kind of a zoomed out perspective. You can see how the pattern works its way through the sign family, from gateway elements, whether it's what we call like a primary gateway on major roads or major entry points, down to slower roads. It's really just a shrunk down version of the larger. We have some pedestrian, and we'll see these larger on the next few pages, but we have some pedestrian signage, vehicular signage, and then some placemaking elements as well along the bottom row there.
Next.
One thing I do want to mention is that we worked with Midtown a few years ago to create a wayfinding program that could be expanded to other neighborhoods. So I don't know if people recognize the Midtown, the orange sign family, but we wanted to create a directional that could be used by other neighborhoods so that everything felt like it was part of the Cleveland area. And then, so there was like a base color, the dark gray, and then the header and the footer and that accent color could be the branded part of each neighborhood. This also helps with maintenance so that all the signs are built the same way and can be changed or maintained all with the same components. And then the part where the neighborhoods can really express their brand is through like the gateways. So the wayfinding elements are very functional and consistent, and then each neighborhood kind of can brand themselves from there. So going into some of the more of the details of the sign type, like I said, we have a fairly simple form of a gateway, but utilizing that pattern. And the sign on the side will incorporate those colored stripes, and they're kind of recessed back. The letters are dimensional, and they have some colors on the side as well. So I believe there's 4 of these, but we're just showing in context one of them here, how that would work on a larger road with more traffic. You can see how that fits into the environment.
And Kevin, if you could just stop here for one, back to the other one. This is the comment that came from the Design Review Committee. This is on St. Clair at 82nd Street, and they felt like the gateway sign was sort of out of context without anything around it. So they asked if we could have seating or think about positioning it someplace else where it was not in a field of an empty lot. And so this is for illustration. We understand the point, and we'll think of either how to address it here. We don't own that land, it's privately owned. We're putting it in another right-of-way location where it could fit in context.
Madam Chair, may I comment on that?
Yeah.
I disagree. Just because there's a place, you don't just put seating. There's so many failed attempts to put seating so close to really busy streets. People don't feel comfortable because there's no backdrop. I don't think the seating's the right thing. In my professional opinion.
Put it in the right of way.
Okay, I'm sorry.
In the grass.
I'd add that it looks like a very hot place to sit. There's no shade. Like it's just like universally unappealing. But maybe like if it's like mulching the bottom and putting some drought resistant flowers or something that like makes it look like it's not like maybe there's some visual thing, but I don't think I'm not thinking a bench is it for me. So.
I would say the thought about putting it in the right of way or some other place makes sense, as long as it's not. I think right here we're seeing utility poles and probably a 5-foot sidewalk.
Yeah,
I would say anything that would occupy more of that space would make it a harder thing to walk around an impediment. But there's probably other spaces where the sidewalk widens and it makes it more sensible, especially maybe adjacent to some thriving retail along the corridor. Would call attention to that. But I also think about the idea that, if there is some kind of coordination with the landowner where some agreement can be happened with regards to an easement where that sign can stay in permanence and thinking about further development, that should also be considered. And again, no seating in places where people are not going to sit.
Agreed. Okay, the next slide. Thank you for the comment.
Thank you. And thank you, Terry, for bringing that up. This next sign is really showing, it's really the same design, just shrunk down in scale for those more residential or slower streets where there's just not enough footprint to do the larger sign. This one is like the Midtown directional that I was talking about. We've kept the gray, and the wayfinding portion of it is same design, and just the header, the footer, and the stripes on the post and the back pattern is customized to St. Clair-Superior. Because St. Clair-Superior has so much cultural history to it, we wanted to create these story opportunities, and then also combine them. We recognize that that's a chance for a pedestrian to go up to it and read it. We can also incorporate some pedestrian information as well, some pedestrian directional to some of those major destinations as well. So this functions as an interpretive cultural story panel and a directional. And then Erica talked about connecting to the lake. That was actually one of the goals, was that this is a lakefront community. So we proposed an idea of having this, what we're calling this lakefront loop. It's kind of a recreational loop from St. Clair, 55th, I believe it's 73rd.
72nd.
72nd up to the lake. So we realized in planning that you can literally do this biking or walking connection to the lake in this loop. So we wanted to emphasize that connection to the lake through this signage. And you can see it has a map to show you kind of how to do that. And then another thing we talked about were how do we, and maybe Terry, you might be able to explain this better, but this was an attempt to kind of standardize some of these buildings that have multiple tenants to make people realize that they are part of the St. Clair-Superior neighborhood. I don't know, Terry, if you want to expand on that a little bit.
Sure. In our industrial district or section west of 55th Street, you have large buildings. Some of them don't have no entry off of St. Clair. They may look abandoned, but they're occupied. And so this would be a business directory that brings color and connection to the overall service area and just helps people to know that that it is an active and thriving area.
And then, yep, sorry.
Excellent.
Yep. And then recognizing too that there's opportunity for just some general placemaking. When we say banners, we're talking more of the permanent type of banners. So you can see that we can take those colored stripes and do some cut throughs to create some kind of fixtures on the existing utility poles. We could use the pattern, and the pattern can be broken up in different ways. The pattern's very modular. And then on the right, we're showing just how you could have a permanent side with the banner and then have more of your traditional updatable banners on the other side as well. So just again, kind of bringing that pattern to the environment. And then along the lake, what we're calling the lakefront loop, again, identifying that so when people are on this loop, they can look up and see that they are still on the right path and that this will lead to the lake. And just kind of, again, like just showing this in context, how this could work. You can see that there's some cutout areas. So these would be aluminum banners just to kind of bring branding to the environment. And then one I didn't mention was the window graphics on the bottom. This goes along with what Terry was saying, just recognizing that there are some abandoned buildings in the neighborhood. So we were thinking of ways of dressing those up until somebody else takes ownership, or they could remain even after the person takes ownership. But it was a way to kind of bring, again, that pattern to the environment and dress up these areas that maybe look abandoned or unoccupied.
Is that it, Kevin?
That is it. Yep.
Okay, any comments, questions?
Madam Chair, just really quickly, Kevin, you mentioned, you mentioned that you all worked with Midtown to envision these signs. I'm just curious if there are any other CDCs throughout the city that are adopting this model and vision of, sort of the cohesiveness of the signage.
Yeah, we're actually currently working with Asia Town as well. I believe that we haven't officially gone through the design review for that, so
we're hoping for July.
That's in July. So, but on that page that had Midtown on it, there were some Asia Town concepts that you could see how these neighborhoods work together, kind of to have this. Again, we want to. Everyone's part of Cleveland, but these neighborhoods have strong identities as well.
Madam Chair, if I might add to that, this sign typology is also complementary to the Trails Wayfinding sign package that Destination Cleveland worked with Guide Studio and many stakeholders across Metroparks City, et cetera, to design. And so I think we're seeing complementary typologies for different wayfinding programs emerge.
And Adam, did you want to say something as well? Was there any staff comment?
There's not too much staff comment. The one committee discussion was the seating element, but that was a consideration with Terry and the team.
I think the one thing, and Callie, you kind of addressed this, is coordination with the Metroparks on signage typology, especially with like new investment projects. So all the stuff that's either going at the Marina or potentially Gordon Park, that this kind of carry through. One thing that I think maybe we saw in like the larger map, but I'd love some kind of further thought on, is that there's kind of a linkage through neighborhoods through Rockefeller Park and a lack of signage throughout that park that connects to the neighborhoods. There's mocap investment happening at Sawinski near the new stream bank restoration. There's going to be a trail there. Seems like a perfect opportunity to add some signage there to get people to know that just off of MLK, there's new amenities that people can walk through the park there. So if we can kind of couple this with, new investments on the city's end to make sure that signage brings people to these new things, it'd make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I would like to also commend you all on two things. The business directory for the industrial area is simple, but it's brilliant because we always talk about it, but we never celebrate, we never identify. It's amazing if you walk through St. Clair-Superior, what's back there, what businesses actually are successfully running in and around that neighborhood. The second thing is the directional, the map, and sort of here's where you are and here's where you can go. I was in Philadelphia a couple of weeks, and it's always refreshing to kind of look up. You always know where you are, but you know what's going on around you. I think that should be replicated in every neighborhood, quite frankly, so we can start connecting the dots, so it becomes a connective tissue that makes this city special because we have a lot to celebrate and we have a lot of culture to explore.
I think I agree. If someone wants to try a motion, I think, and maybe the two of you who want to either leave it to them to decide on that sign on seating or remove that condition or something in that regard.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the signage package as presented and allow the applicant to look at new locations for the entryway signage within the right of way that is suitable. Looking at the kind of existing location in coordination with the tenant or the landholder that makes sense, without the seating requirement as requested by design review.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
Curry,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Sargent,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
Thank you. It's beautiful, by the way. It really is. It's very beautiful.
Really happy with
And
that.
it's very vibrant. And I also think, for me, the kind of inclusion of like the variety of color, it has energy, which some of the signs that are just kind of one or two colors are bright. They're great, but this one has a lot of energy, which is really awesome.
And
Hard
we
to do.
We hope people will see themselves in it.
Yeah.
See themselves in our community.
And feel welcome. Yes, so
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the
you.
next item, thank you all, is 2025-017 Wade Park Station. This is conceptual approval, and there, if you please look at your sheets, there are 4 or 5 conditions. 12308 Wade Park Avenue. I don't believe, they're different, RDS, so come on up. And I ask that in your presentation, just maybe address these comments if you've seen them. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury? And then Adam, do you want to go first or you want to go later, second?
Go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm filling in for Ariel Washington today, so I'll kind of try and best represent her comments. This site, some of you may recognize it from previous Knez townhouse proposal. It's a tricky linear site right by the old Hough Bakery, right on the edge of the municipality of Cleveland. That project, as you may know, was some of the reasons we changed the townhouse code. So We are happy that something else is back for a LIHTC project development. Overall, the committee likes the project. There were some concerns about the grading. If you remember, it's right near the railroad and on kind of a hillside. And then there's some strong recommendations to investigate ways to celebrate the small space near the back and capitalizing on some small opportunities to make an impact with plantings and try and landscape this long linear site, especially on the corners. And then a follow-up will be a need to contact the railroad for some of these grading, planting, trimming issues that I think some overgrowth has certainly happened on the site since we last kind of saw it. Thank you.
Take it away.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, good morning. Nice to meet you all. Thanks for having us. So my name is Jimmy McCune. I'm Vice President of Development at Wallach Communities. So Wallach, just a quick little bit of background, is a vertically integrated real estate company just based outside of Columbus. So we do development, construction, property management, and then long-term owners of our assets. So you know, similar to a lot of our peer developers that work in Cleveland, you know, we are primarily in the affordable housing space. So we own and or manage about 13,000, give or take, apartment units throughout Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, and now more recently the Carolinas. So you know, like I said, we've been around for about 50 years. So, you know, most of our assets are affordable, and income restricted. We do, however, have, you know, a line of business. We sort of call it our side hustle of market rate, independent living and assisted living and memory care. But that's not, you know, financed through the tax credit program. You know, it's not rent and income restricted. Our primary focus is affordable housing for families and seniors. And, you know, a majority of our assets are located in Ohio. With that being said, we don't have we've had a couple projects in Northeast Ohio over the years, but this is really our first development project in Cleveland. You know, not really any particular reason to that, but, you know, as I'm sure you're familiar with the QAP that, you know, we have to compete for these credits for one reason or another, this year led us to this site, which, you know, we were made aware of the previous proposal, and the seller, you know, was open to selling at least that portion of the property to us. I mean, when we went through the process, we looked at potentially purchasing the bakery that's right across the street, but like in OFA's world of census tracts and things like that, that part of the street was not competitive. This one was. So, like, you know, that's just the way it goes. So yeah, I know. It's a head scratcher every year, but yeah, but that's just the way it goes. And you know, we were fortunate enough to receive an award this past February of about $1 million worth in tax credits, which, you know, is I guess we're going to find out here soon what it's worth, but, you know, roughly about $8 million in equity to help construct the project. So yeah, so we're excited about it. I will say the process has been, you know, pretty seamless so far. I mean, the site itself was already zoned for a multifamily use with the overlays. So, like, we didn't really have to go through like the rezoning or you know, public process to start. So, like I said, it was a pretty seamless transition, and you know, everyone's been great to work with. I think we have a lot of support. I think it'll be a great project. It does have some, I hesitate to use the word hair, but nuances that are attached to it that, you know, I think we're pretty mindful of at this point. And, you know, we've done real estate development all around the state, and, you know, we feel comfortable we can get it done. So, yeah, that's a little bit of background on the project and on Wallach. So, well, I guess maybe a little bit more specifically about the project. It's 40 units for seniors 55 and older, 31 bedrooms, 10 two-bedrooms. You know, it's not necessarily a big project by the tax credit program standards, but just given how small the site is, I mean, that's the most we could really fit. So, yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I'll let you take it away, Winston.
Winston Home from RDL Architects. I'll be representing RDL and Wall Development. Oh, so can you go back to the site plan? Sorry. So again, thank you. So the site is located at the northeast corner of the University Circle neighborhood, across the street from the Hough Bakery on the northern part, across the street from Lakeview Road, and then also adjacent to the elevated train tracks in the residential neighborhood. Next slide, please. So looking at the aerial view of the site throughout the years, you can see that the parcel is, divided to intend for a residential development, but it was, ultimately left vacant, and it was previously used as a parking lot for a Hough Bakery. Next. So looking at some of the historical context, you can kind of see that the site, on the right photo, the site was elevated, sort of graded up to that elevated train tracks. And then with the introduction of the retaining wall, it was later leveled, but it was never developed. And then ultimately it was, used for Hough Bakery parking. Next, please. Looking at location and context, with the site being in the outskirts of University Circle neighborhood, a lot of shops and restaurants are, easily located by a short car ride or a train or a bus ride. So you can see on the site that it's roughly 650 feet, a 4-minute walk to Euclid Avenue. You can take the Hough line down towards University Circle and then towards downtown. Shown in yellow is all the bus stops along the way. And with the Lily neighborhood, east of University Circle, that's, similar travel distance. Next, please. So looking at some of the existing site condition, a lot of overgrown bushes and trees, like previously mentioned, the retaining wall on top of it, there's a lot of overgrown trees that, we have to address. But mostly it's, the site is vacant with the, a lot of overgrowns. And then we're currently in communication with landscape designer to see what's, worth preserving on site and, what we can take out. Next, please. And some of the street view on Way Park Avenue and Lakeview Road, single family across the street, and then the Hough Bakery and also the the elevated train tracks. Next, please. Some of the existing buildings, a lot of 2-story, 3-story single-family homes, vinyl-sided homes. A lot of them in pretty poor condition. Some of them are vacant, and you can also see some. Top right, there's a brick apartment and a church close by, and also the Hough Bakery that's currently vacant. Next, please. The slides just show some of the recent development construction in the area. A lot of townhouses, single family townhouses, 2-3-story vinyl sided, and also there's a renovated brick apartment on the top right. Next, please. So we're proposing like Jimmy said, we're proposing a 3-story senior living facility with 40 units. Given the site condition, we know that it's, because of the site, the narrow site, and where, the shape of the building is kind of forced by the site. And we pay attention to that curve at the Way Park that we wanted to emphasize that corner as a corner presence. One thing with parking, I know the zoning only requires 1 per 3 dwelling units, but we understand that with the senior living facility, parking is kind of crucial with some residents needing cars to get around. So we're providing 24 spaces on site with the design intent of utilizing that public bus stop from Lakeview Road to Euclid Avenue that I'll kind of address in a minute. But so if you look at the building layout, so we're providing with the length of the building, we're providing 3 different entry points, 2 main entry points shown in red and yellow off of Way Park. So the red is primarily for vehicular access, people accessing the parking space, and then the yellow is
more of a pedestrian access. And then the secondary access that's shown in blue is the sort of, we're oriented the residents to help them guide through the building to Lakeview and then towards that bus stop down to University Circle. And that's where the 400 square feet of outdoor patio space with 200 covered is located. So that's kind of an element on that end of the building that kind of a nice space for the residents to be on Lakeview Road. Next slide, please. So looking at the floor plan on the first floor, mainly, we have 10 units on the first floor and some common spaces with, community room, a exercise room, and offices. Now they're located towards Way Park and, conveniently located within the two primary entrances. And then we incorporate a wayfinding element that translates from the exterior to interior. I'll show it in the color elevation, but in the plan you'll see. So on the left side of the vestibule, then the upper, entry by the elevator, and then on the right side at the covered patio space, there is a accent wall that transition from the exterior to interior with, color elements that help resident for wayfinding both interior and exterior. But yeah, I'll show that in the color elevation. Next slide, please. So the upper level, second and third floor, 15 units on each floor. Just mostly all of them are residential units. Next, please. And this is the third floor. Next, please. So looking at the massing diagram, we understand that with the site, it's very narrow and long, and it's hard to kind of break it up. It's important to kind of break it up to have that relationship with the existing residential neighborhood. So we're incorporating some of the recess on the elevation that's shown in purple. So those are, placed to recess in to kind of break up that massing. And we also include vertical and horizontal break points with, changing material from brick to vinyl siding to steel siding to break up that massing. And then with, the bottom images showing the Hough Bakery, some of the residential the size of these buildings, we're paying attention in massing to kind of incorporate that into the elevation. Next, please. So this is the color elevation on Way Park Avenue. I mentioned before. So you see that the recess on Way Park Avenue, that yellow accent wall, and on the right side the red, and then on the left the blue. And you can also see on the Lakeview Road elevation that blue accent wall. So those are the wayfinding elements on the exterior and interior. So those accent wall will translate into the building itself. And you can see the recess points and the color and the material breakup to help soften that massing. Next, please. But then this is just the enlarged elevation. You see that primary pedestrian entry off of Way Park, and then that another primary for vehicle access on the off the parking lot. Next, please. And this is the color elevation off of Lakeview Road with the 200 square feet covered patio space, 400 total. And that's just kind of help guiding the residents towards that parking, the bus stop. Next, please. So this is the south elevation that's facing the elevator, the train track. We understand that that's not a primary elevation, so we tone it down. We understand that we got to pay attention to acoustical, and then that's the comments from the local design review is instead of that being like a dark alley, we want to kind of celebrate that as another element to the facility that with vegetation, mural, working with the station, the train, working with the railroad company to see if we can have other mural. Yeah. Yeah, we understand that's a crucial, we've got to pay attention to acoustical. So
The train track is 17 feet. And then the track is roughly 20 feet. You know, the overhead, the tunnel through is 16 and a half. And then so it's, yeah, oh yeah. Good opportunity for landscape. So we're towards the last. So like kind of the to-do list on our end, this is conceptual design, we're continue developing the building, working with civil and landscape on opportunities. And so a quick timeline, just, we're going through design review this summer. Next year, we'll go through permit process and start construction in summer 2026. Thank you.
You will be doing kind of really thinking about noise. Would you also be including windows that have argon and completely, like I live on a busy street. These guys were my but the argon gas between the windows is amazing. It really does help a lot. So
and then through local design review, Peggy on the board, she mentioned that through landscape, there's really no benefit for acoustical.
Visual.
Yeah.
There's no.
But yeah, we got it. The building envelope is
technical standpoint. You want to vary the thickness of the glass. In the insulated unit, and that helps dampen the sound.
Yeah, and I would note too that. I would note too that depending on how the project is financed, whether it's through if we get some allocation of home funds or any type of federal financing other than the tax credits, like we're going to have to get a noise study. I mean, we're aware of that is going to be incorporated into the design in one way or the other. So yeah.
I mean, I would say, like, as you know, there was a long history to this project. I'm so happy to see this. I think this site does lend itself towards a kind of multi-unit building versus the one that we saw that had townhouses and walkways along the tracks from a just safety and security point of view. So it is really a huge improvement and a kind of an example of sometimes we get projects and we think that's all that can be done, and a lot more can be done. So timing is everything. So I want to thank you for taking this on and welcome you to Cleveland. And hopefully this will be a good experience and you'll come back and do more because we need a lot more affordable senior housing. And we've seen a couple of projects today, but I hope that it's a good experience for you in working through this and that you'll be interested in doing more here. So thank you. But any other design comments or other comments?
I've kind of a broad comment to staff. Could we get great project? Echo what I said, but beyond you guys, try again. Could we get I would like to do a comparison of like OFA qualified locations in Cleveland kind of against like as what we could review as the planning commission, because I know similar type of project on the west side where like the Trisket Rapid Station scored higher than the West Park Rapid Station, despite the West Park Rapid Station having like bus lines coming into it to actually get you out into the city beyond just the rail. So to me, it was jarring because I thought putting a development at Trisket would be sort of isolating. There's not much to walk to versus being at the West Park Station. You can walk to stuff and have the Rapid Plus buses. So to me, it was an example of the disconnect. And if there's situations where OFA is creating this disconnect that is putting projects in sites that we don't think are strategic, I'd like to get our heads around that so we can advocate to OFA and not end up kind of, because arguably, I know like you guys are, I understand pursuing the credit, but like a 600-foot walk to Euclid for a senior is not super duper convenient. And whether they're on this side of Lakeview or the other side of Lakeview, like it to me is it's equally inconvenient. So I think it's about their methodology, and do we need to be a little more strategic in how we advocate against their methodology?
Mr. Slife, I take exception to that comment. I'm a senior. I'm 62 years old, and I ride my bike 10 miles a day. So I'm just saying.
Exception noted for the record, yeah.
Just to piggyback off that, so OFA's QAP is basically a 2-year QAP. So the 2025 was the end of a 2-year cycle. So this next year in 2026, it'll be revamped for 26 and 27. So I would encourage you to provide comment when the draft is released, usually over the summer.
I think the problem too, Charlie, is the fact that some people use data to inform and some people hide behind the data. And the sensor track conversation that you brought up concerning what's across the street, it makes no sense to me. So it's just, you let the numbers sort of drive decision making. It's unfortunate.
We've looked into the specifics a little bit with community development, and then that highlight, Charlie, you're right, with the Triscuit versus West Park Station, how they judge access and transportation access is so nuanced, to your point, Member Fluker, as well. Like it is bizarrely tricky when you look at it as a statewide policy too. And I think if anything, the lessons learned from the past couple of projects that are coming through the pipeline this summer is that we want to probably provide more by right zoning qualification entitlement to LIHTC and affordable housing projects. They are starting to value that higher in their QAP and consider that more so in the scoring as well. So if we can value that as a city and value that on specific sites, maybe we can dictate exactly where we will get these projects to the Red Line Station comment.
I have a suggestion for my colleagues here. You're coming in for conceptual review. I would argue that really to help them get through the process, that this should be schematic and that you should only have to come back once. Because it's crazy to make you do this 3 times.
Having said that, then I'll make a motion to approve said project for the schematic level with the condition that the applicant continue to work with design review committee to investigate the grading of the site, celebrate the wall and murals and activate the space, explore plantings and small spaces to make it inviting, and consider wrapping the seating on the porch around the corner and adding seating on the west end. So.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony?
Yes.
Luker?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Gray Scott?
Yes.
Sargent?
Yes.
And Slife?
Yes.
Motion carried. So we'll just see you at the end.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Thanks. I'm going to turn over the meeting to Commission Member Fluker, who will chair the remainder of the portion. I have to leave shortly, so he will take over.
Okie dokie. There's one thing that I realized. There's one of the public art presentations that Land Studios involved. I'm going to have to recuse myself.
You want to do it real fast while I'm here?
Sure, you are.
So why don't we do that one real fast? Which one is it?
It's the third item.
Okay. We're
25.
going to move it up. And because I didn't have.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Let's just do it. All right. What page is that? Which page?
Yeah, Playhouse Square. It's on.
Oh, there it is. Page 12. So we're going to jump to page 12. This is Playhouse Square Artwalls, 1305 Euclid Avenue. And this is here for final approval. Do you all speaking to this swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as you shall answer to the penalty of perjury? Sorry, if you could jump ahead to this one, that'd be great. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Boylan with Land Studio, seeking final approval to the framing system and art walls on East 13th Street for Playhouse Square. Unlike Terry Hamilton Brown, this is my first time. So total opposite end of the spectrum to present.
You're good. We're very kind.
You were, okay, thank you. Playhouse Square is seeking to implement quick win public art projects to be completed in 2025. The goal of these projects is to connect patrons and the public to Playhouse Square's district's northern campus by highlighting Playhouse Square and bolstering the brand in an area of the campus that is not directly synonymous with Playhouse Square. Bringing the inside out. The art walls presented are meant to rotate over time to include more public art. Playhouse Square would be working with partners like CSU, School of Art, et cetera, to help provide artwork in the future. Next slide. This is the street view facing north. Next slide. Street view facing south. Next slide. Street view facing east. Next slide. The art wall framing system consists of an aluminum extrusion that is heavy duty and non-corrosive, which the installer miters like a picture frame. The system would be attached to the wall with Capcon anchor screws designed for concrete and installed in mortar joints. The vinyl banner is stretched into place with heavy duty nylon locking strips, which are hammered into the groove of the extrusion. This pulls the entire surface taut and makes it durable in windy conditions. This framing system is also the same one that is on the back of Rebel on Public Square. Next slide. The vinyl is 13-ounce scrim with printed full graphic, digital 4-color process, and it has 4 inches of bleed on all 4 sides. Next slide. The images that are provided in the next couple slides were provided by Playhouse Square, featuring the audience and the different shows. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Next. And this final slide shows a street view of all 6 installations. Next. That's it.
Thank you. This was unanimously approved by Downtown Flats Design Review yesterday. Just with the condition that they do the fasteners into the joints, the mortar joints, and not the actual stone. We also received a email of support from Councilman Kerry McCormick. I think that this improves the site of what's there now with just bare walls. But I do hope in the future, as they rotate these out, that they stretch a little more artistically. When this first came to us, it looked like a signage or branding package. They removed most of those elements and we arrived here, which I think is a happy medium. But again, I think that we really have to take advantage of the situation with their plan for the area and really move it towards more artistic renderings moving forward. But I do generally support it.
I will say it seems like a wall that I'm surprised no one. It was like made perfectly for this, by the way. Like in terms of, I fractured my elbow. Fine. You know what I mean? Like the Playhouse Square, because it looks like it belongs obviously in this. I would say, I mean, it's just my opinion. I would push back a little bit on this one in terms of there is something about the idea that, for me, that Playhouse Square, from a content point of view, that when you're in the district, you understand that it is a performing arts district. So there might be a happy medium between both, which is where I think you were going.
Yeah.
Which is you actually do want the artwork itself to kind of content-wise, even if it's more investing in artists to do it, but that when you land in this district, the artwork itself is actually driving the sense that you're in a performing arts district. So it could happen by selecting particular artists or the content of the work that is not just independent public artwork that doesn't relate to the district. Now, there's a very differentiator here about this. So because I wouldn't want that, right? This just becomes street artwork that you pick artists, they do something, and then you put it on here. And the artwork itself is great and important, but it doesn't drive the way you feel about the district. So I think there could be a happy medium, but from photography to artists being engaged, but with knowledge that you still want it to feel like you're landing. So in the next iteration, how long will these be up?
Approximately, probably about a year, depending on the funding.
They'll last longer, by
Yeah,
the way.
yeah, they do. They do last longer.
2 to
Yeah,
3
yeah,
years
yeah,
without fading
absolutely.
pretty well. So I guess if they're quicker, then
Yeah.
you can also test things. If Playhouse Square is willing to rotate them more quickly, then you can be more creative and test things because then you can change back. So that's my thing.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move for us to approve DF 2025-25 Playhouse, excuse me, House Square Artwalls. The design review provided final approval with the condition of all fasteners to be installed through existing mortar joints and no penetrations into the masonry stonework.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker. Oh, never
Abstain.
mind. Curry,
Or recused. Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
and Slight.
Yes.
Motion carries. So can someone grab August real quick?
Thank you.
And we're gonna go back. Okay, we have not seen you in a while. How are you? I apologize. We inserted in front of you. So we're gonna go back to, as soon as August gets here.
AC.
AC, so page 8 and August will come back. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Where are we?
Page 8. Go back to page 8.
Okay.
AC Marriott.
Okie dokie.
And you'll have to swear.
Yes. We're here for the next item under Design Review District Downtown Flats. Item number 23. It's a design review. It's a design-oriented project, so I have to swear those in with the city. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under penalty of perjury?
I do.
All right, I guess we're going to hear from staff first.
Thank you. Good morning again. My name is Xavier Bay. I'm in the zoning section of city planning. Nice to meet you. Evelyn, can you go to the next slide, please? We're going to fly through these first ones pretty quick here. Just letting you know that the applicant occupying 629 Euclid is proposing the 3 business identification wall signs. Here you can see just a brief of them. We're going to go more into detail of the specific signs after my presentation. We have a few more slides from the applicant. And so this property is located downtown in the general retail zoning district. Next slide, please. Just another aerial shot just to give you another idea where we're at downtown. You can see Public Square at the top left. Here you can see up and down Euclid Avenue. We're just adjacent to, I think that's East 6th Street right there. And so, right here, I'm letting you know the criteria for approving sign variances. And so the commission should be looking at the design compatibility, design guidelines, and minimum variation from the zoning code. Next slide, please. So the total proposed square footage of signage is 148.9 square feet. And so they're going just over the max permitted based off of a linear foot equation of their use. So they're going just over 11.4 square feet. Here you can see just a brief of what these signs look like and what they entail. The yellow sign is actually on the top of something like a marquee. Next to that, on the right side of the screen, you see something that's like a blade sign that's going to be projecting off of the building. And then on the bottom there is a banner that's actually replacing another banner that's already existing for the hotel. Next slide, please. And so again, I'm just letting you know the conditions, the considerations that you should look at when approving sign variances. Making sure that this results in signage that's better suited to the subject property and nearby properties. Does it result in signage that follows CPC standard of approved design guidelines? And are these variances the minimum necessary to ensure design compatibility with surrounding properties? And this is the downtown area, so you know that the neighborhood is mixed between commercial, retail, things of that nature, entertainment. So that's all I have. Just keep in mind the variances that they're requiring is actually 11.3 square feet, so you'll include that in your motion. I'll hand it off to our applicant and Dan, the neighborhood planner for the area, for any more information.
Great. Good morning, commission members.
My name is Joe Delray. I am the Director of Construction and Design for MRN, and I'm excited to present the conversion of the Holiday Inn Express at 629 Euclid into an AC Marriott hotel. This is a project that is basically changing a long-standing downtown operator. The last 20 years has been a Holiday Inn Express. As that flag has come up, we started talking with other hotel flags and decided that an AC Marriott really fit this location well. And so most of the work that we're doing is inside the building. The existing 141 rooms will remain. That's being refreshed to match the AC brand. But we're doing some really exciting modifications to the lobby. Our work scope is going to include the renovation of the ground floor into a grand lobby for the hotel. If you're familiar with the building right now, you enter through what's a really beautiful arcade. But the arcade actually mixes kind of a reception or check-in area for the hotel, as well as elevators for the hotel, as well as elevators for the office and residential uses. And so our plans are to take the unused back of the house area, drop the mezzanine down so that we can actually open it up a little bit more, and create a grand lobby dedicated just to the hotel use. The first floor and mezz dining services are located back down to the first floor, and a new kitchen is provided in the former restaurant space, a little diner that's located near the northern elevators. And there's also a new bar proposed for the lobby space as well. And as a part of this renovation, we are proposing a new entryway on Euclid Avenue, centered slightly to the east of the existing entrance, and as well as maintaining the existing arcade entrance. We're also going to show some signage, as well as a small change to the entryway on Vincent. Evelyn, can we have the next slide, please? Oops. Again, location map, just kind of showing the location of 629 Euclid, very close to the corner of East 6 and Euclid Avenue. Next slide, please. Just some context photos to orient. This is the northern elevation looking north there. You can see the existing canopy, as well as the two bays that we are going to be turning into new openings for the lobby. A quick note here, I'd just like to bring it up. One of the unique quirks of this building is, of course, the marble room. The marble room is the first two bays to the west there. So with the triangle top over the door entrance and the bay next to it, that's separate ownership. There was an air right split done many, many years ago. And so a separate owner owns and manages the marble room, while MRN has the Holiday Inn Express marquee, as well as the four bays to the right of it on this image, and then the building above it going up, forming the New England building, or also known as the Guardian building. Next slide, please. Okay, great. So this kind of shows the first element of what we're talking about. Currently, the Holiday Inn canopy is dead center on the building elevation. What we are proposing is to take the two static windows to the east there and change them into main entrances for the main hotel. We will continue to maintain the entrance to the arcade, but remove the Holiday Inn canopy, making that the primary entrance for the residences and the office that is in this building off of Euclid Avenue. And again, it creates more of an active streetscape and storefront feel. One of the reasons that we are going to remove the canopy is because this project, as we have taken this through the tax credit, historic tax credit process, working with our partners, HP Group, and our submission to SHPO, they said, if you're going to have a canopy, you can only have one, pick it. And we decided that the canopy was most appropriate for the hotel's main entrance. So we'll remove the Holiday Inn canopy and install a new canopy over the AC Marriott entrance there. That would be in the second bay on your screen from the right. Next slide, please. This just shows a floor plan for the new entranceway for the hotel. As you can see, the lobby would be accessed off this new entranceway that is proud of the other two. Again, we would create a small vestibule on the left side for the main arcade, allowing residents and office users to come in through that dedicated entrance. The main hotel lobby entrance is next to that. And then finally, to the right of that entrance would be a second set of doors, mainly just for egress purposes. Inside this lobby, you can see the new reception area, the new bar that will front on Euclid Avenue there, dining to the back, and then the only time hotel guests would need to enter into the beautiful arcade would be just simply to use the elevators to get up to their rooms. Next slide, please. So part of this package is also the proposed signage. There are three elements of the signage: banner signage, the canopy signage, and as well as a marquee piece. Next slide. So this shows the banner signage on the east-facing wall of the building. This takes the place of the existing Holiday Inn Express banner, replacing it with an AC Hotels banner in AC and Marriott colors and font. The next slide shows the location of the new canopy with AC Marriott lettering. Again, this is going to go to the right or to the east of the existing Holiday Inn location. The next slide shows the proposed blade sign that will go on the building. This will go on the easternmost column, I believe, and basically balances out with the existing marble room signage. So it kind of creates a little bit of symmetry on the building. Next slide, please. This just shows the blade sign in perspective there. Next slide, please. One of the experiences that we had was working with SHPO in order to get their approval was to be very purposeful on the colors selected for the new canopy. Initially, we had proposed a gold, and they really pushed back and advocated for this bronze look. They felt it was more consistent with the elements of the front facade and the historic treatment of the building. Here is a picture of the canopy in 3D. And then the bottom right also shows its placement with the new set of doors underneath it. And then the old canopy is shown next to it. It has been completely removed just to provide some context, but that canopy to the left would be taken off the building. Next slide, please. One other element we wanted to bring up is taking this opportunity to change out the sliding doors on Vincent. So at the other end of the historic arcade is this entrance onto Vincent. Many years ago, sliders were put on the building, and those sliders do provide or create a bit of a access concern, security concern. They're not as easily secured as traditional swing doors might be. So in the next slide, you can see our proposal to replace those doors with traditional swing doors. We are showing here in one of the Collier standard colors, and one of the conditions of local design review is that we work with staff to find an appropriate color that best matches the metal window mullions to the directly above it. And actually the samples just came in today, so I can finally schedule that meeting. And one of the conditions that was asked of us is to make sure that when the final shop drawings are done, that lower band continues all the way across the bottom there. So panels 1, 2, and 3 are doors. We're showing them as doors. Panel 4 is a stationary window pane, but we will have a thicker bottom panel that will make it look uniform throughout the doors there. And then I think the next slide is again, just some other colors that we're able to choose from. I think that medium bronze will come the closest, and we'll see that in person probably next week. And then the last slide, this just kind of provides a little bit of architectural detail for the changing of the canopy. I know that canopy protrudes into Euclid a little bit, but it's actually smaller than the existing canopy. The left side shows a canopy at 10 foot 10 inches, and the new proposed canopy is 9 foot, I believe 9.5 feet.
Thank you. Mr. Shinku, you have a report?
Just a brief overview of design review. First, just wanted to thank Joe and his team. They've been working with us just very cleanly through the process. It's really quite exciting to see some of those storefronts get filled in. And just the fact of going through SHPO and respecting the character of the building, knowing the history, it was really simple to work with Joe and his team. So as he mentioned, just the Vincent doors on the back would have the bottom rails match consistently was a condition, and then we'll look at color samples together. And I'll bring some landmark staff with me as well. It's in the National Historic District, so we just want to make sure that we're making those choices that match the intent of SHPO. The other issue that was brought up is the Vincent side has a lot of dumpsters. There's in excess of 10 in the street now. We've been talking a lot about that situation, and Joe's team is not necessarily responsible for the majority of those. And through MoCap and some of the owners, we've been pursuing solving that issue over time. So not to be confused with this project, given that we're talking about signage and a hotel renovation.
Yep. Commission members?
To the chair, to the applicant, just a suggestion on the color samples. I would move away from trying to match the kind of weatherization or the patina on like the existing with a new color will change over time, and that match will look good the first day, but then we'll move significantly faster. I would suggest probably going like maybe a stark contrast in the same color family, so a darker brown. You mentioned the bronze, but I would just stray away from trying to match exactly what's going to happen because it'll look good right now, and those things will weather completely separately and then look kind of weird in the future.
I think it looks great. I really commend, it seems like a small thing, but the removal of that awning and the replacement with this, I think really speaks to like the historical character of the building. So share with the chair that when I was in college, we came up for the MAC tournaments and we stayed here, and I spent 3 green beer days in this hotel. But that's a different story. I'm happy to make a motion unless there's another comment and make sure I get it right. So we are moving for approval of a variance, 11 square foot variance, roughly from the zoning code for this signage package.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony?
Yes.
Blucher?
Yes.
McCray Scott?
Yes.
Sergeant?
Yes.
And Slade?
Yes.
I didn't recognize you with the beard, Joe. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yes. Good. How are you?
Yeah. All right. Next, downtown flats design review item number 24. Live Cleveland vinyl window graphics. I have to swear you in. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth for this matter now in hearing under penalty of perjury? Yes. Do you have a report, Mr. Bay?
Yes. Thank you. Hello again. My name is Xavier Bay, zoning section of city planning. Next slide, please. Today we're going to be talking about a proposal for changing signage at the old Luckman. I think others might know it as the Sphere. Possibly. And so this address is 1801 East 12th Street, proposing wall and window business identification signage. Here I just have a brief of all the signage being proposed. The main pieces that we're looking at for the variances today are the window signage, which is on the left. Next slide, please. And so you're looking at the same criteria, right? Again, we're in the general retail zoning district of downtown. Next slide, please. The criteria I'll mention again, a minimum variation from the zoning code, making sure that this is compatible with the context of this district. Next slide, please. Thank you. And so here I just have a couple more shots of the context. You can see up and down East 12th Street there, as well as Chester, looking directly at the property. And so, yep, as I mentioned, design compatibility, design guidelines, and minimum variation from the zoning code are the 3 criteria that this group is looking at when approving variances. And so recently, in April of this year, we had passed legislation that limits all window signage to 25% of the window area. And so proposal here is taking up a bit more. We calculate about 44% of the window area. And so you can see the square footage along Chester Avenue is about 1,253. And you can see some of what those graphics look like there, taking up a lot of the actively leasing space. And then on the bottom of the screen, you see the 738 square feet that's being proposed on the windows on the east 12th side. So their max that they're allowed to go up to is 25%, and this is considered temporary signage, which is limited to a year. So again, I'll mention the considerations. Does this signage result in better design of the subject property or nearby properties? Is it following CPC standards of approved design guidelines, and are these minimum variation from the zoning code? With that, I'll allow the applicant to go into more detail if needed, and also Dan Schinkel to reflect off of the comments from local design review. Thank you.
So we're requesting a temporary variance or temporary signage in hopes that within the year we can rent those retail spaces out. And we're just hoping that that signage will kind of bring the property a little bit more to life than just showing empty spaces. And during that year, we would be moving to try and fill those retail spaces and then eventually remove those signs so that the retail spaces can set up their preferred signage. That's all I have.
Go ahead and walk them through the.
Yeah, so this is the Chester side. So it is very similar to what was there before. We've updated some of the photographs. Before it was the Luckman. So now we've switched over to Live Cleveland. We've updated the photos of the pool, the new logo on there. So a little bit similar, but just kind of updated and more brightened. The 12th Street side, we had a little bit more emphasis on the amenity spaces that we provide, that were pet friendly, just again, livening that space a little bit more. And as you can see, we've, added those updates in there. The building has, gone through a lot over the years. I'm not sure if everybody's kind of aware of that property, but we did recently took over it probably about a year ago, and we've been moving to make a lot of progress with the building, updating the amenity spaces, really providing it the care that it needed all these years. And so that's part of the big reason we decided to rebrand so that we can emphasize those changes with the property.
Go on. All right, thank you. So this signage is already on the building, so it's something that we took into consideration at Downtown Flats. During the rebrand, this team came through from Greystar to really, freshen up the site. It sounds as though there's new ownership involved, and they're making some strides to improve the property. We had received some commentary from Councilwoman House Jones about the project, just given its history with violations and things like that. Greystar did confirm that there are no active violations and that they've made a lot of, and if you'd like to speak more to that, please go ahead. But
yes, we recently cleared some of the violations that had been given with prior ownership. With that, we've redone the second floor hallways so that they're also looking a lot more, not completely destroyed. Before they had removed flooring and just left it disheveled. So with the new ownership and Greystar coming in the picture, we've put in a lot of effort inside the building as well to clear those violations so that the residents have a comfortable space to live in and to be around in the building.
And so, the awning sign came through separately, didn't need a variance for part of that rebrand. It was shown in Xavier's presentation there. But this piece of the signage does require a variance with the window coverage. As Xavier noted, the sign code recently changed, basically adapting that 25% rule citywide. But it used to just be 25% of every pane, and now it's 25% of the entire frontage. And if I get that mixed up, Xavier, please correct me. But and a lot of where that came from was the Department of Public Safety talking about visibility into and out of these properties. So if they're responding to a call and they can't see in at all, that puts them in a compromised position. So it's something that we'll continue to see both downtown and now across the city. And the commission will probably see more and more of these. So continue to keep in mind that requests from public safety to minimize variances therein. Through the downtown flats, they did ask that all the transoms be opened up, at least so that there's light coming into those spaces, except where the Live logo is on just above the doorways. So some of that percentage will come down, but it will still exceed 25%. I did also want to mention, because the ownership issue and things over time, for roughly the last 15 years or so, we've had signage in these windows. The code only allows this sort of retail leasing up to a year max, and they should come back to the commission. So we've notified this team of that now. We hope to clean that up going forward. So we do ask that we follow that existing code, and I put a staff report in front of everyone here that kind of covers that in more detail. These are temporary retail leasing signs. We do allow up to 1 year, and then we just ask that the applicant come back at the end of that year to provide updates on how they're, per the code, diligently filling the leasing vacancies, and then just updates on the condition of the signage. It is adhered to the outside of the window, so they can be damaged over time or just wear and tear. So the code requires that those things be in good repair. So those are things to keep in mind with your motion and the discussion therein. And I also just wanted to highlight the motion from design review. As I mentioned, the transoms, they were looking at replacing any of the dark blue with a lighter blue just to brighten the space up a little more. We've established the temporary signage timeline with the applicant now. But they also wanted to see additional leasing information, contact information. What can you lease? Most of what we're seeing is related to the residential leasing, not necessarily the retail spaces. So we want people to understand, like, hey, there's a couple, tenant spaces for retail that could be filled. Years ago, I'm sure members of the commission remember these, but there was a great restaurant on the Chester side. There's actually a Blockbuster many years back. So there's been some interesting uses in the building. We'd love to see that brought back. And so the committee also strongly recommended to add some cameras to the overhang, but also to clean up the available retail spaces and white box at least one. That was a recommendation, not a condition, but something that we agree would be really helpful to try leasing these spaces, because as the applicant had noted in our meeting, some of those spaces are just kind of defunct and not in good repair. So when you bring a potential tenant through, they're not necessarily enthusiastic about moving in. So I think that would help overall with the leasing process. And honestly, on East 12th at this location in Chester, you've got Perk Plaza there. We've seen a lot of investment into that surrounding block, a lot of investment from Playhouse Square, new restaurants, things like that. It would be great to fill these spaces and enliven that corridor again. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Mr. Schenkel, when you say at the year's expiration date, is that more of an administrative process? Do they come back before planning? What's the process there?
Correct. We would bring them back through the typical process of the committee and commission to seek that a future year, and we'd like them to provide that information about attempts to lease and all that.
And the second item, I need a further clarification. I don't know how camera recommendation comes under our purview. If you could enlighten us on that one.
That was just a recommendation from the committee, so I'll defer to the commission on those thoughts. The discussion really came up about The reason that the applicant brought for covering so much of the window was because they were concerned about people looking in and potentially sleeping there overnight, things like that. So it was just a recommendation as a means to mitigate that and allow for more views into the building.
Thank you. Commission members?
To the chair, I move to approve the signage variance for approval for over 25% max coverage, and that the applicant work with staff on increasing visibility based on the staff report.
Excuse me, can you please just note the exact square footage that's being proposed? I have it on the screen here. So we have 1,253 square feet on Chester and 738 square feet on East 12th.
So we have the approval of 1,253 square feet, and the approval on Chester and 738 square foot on East 12th.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
McCray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Light.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have people's presentations under public art. Docket number 14, murals across the city. Larchmere. Might we have here? Oh. All right. Please proceed.
Oh, sorry. My name's Courtney. I'm our Development and Experience Coordinator at Destination Cleveland. I'm joined online by Alex Harnotes, who's our Director of Destination Development. What I have for you all today is one out of the hopefully three murals that we're proposing this year as part of our Murals Across the City project. This is a project that aims to get public art out into the neighborhoods. The goal of the project is really to create these sort of like photo-ready, photo opportunity type murals that celebrate local art and local artists. We think this project also gives residents and visitors just another way to share their love of the land. So here is, just kind of examples of the previous works from last year's version of the project. We can kind of page through these next few slides. Okay, yeah, we'll stop here. The process, so this project involves, we release a call for artists that goes out, anybody can apply. From there, we evaluate applications based on artist portfolios. We do focus on local artists, so everybody that you'll see here today and in previous iterations, they're all local artists. From there, we select a few for specific proposals. They're paid a stipend for those proposals. And they're asked to create a design surrounding one of our brand phrases. Kind of parallel paths at the same time. We're also working to identify potential walls and negotiating with building owners. And then as we identify buildings and the artists are coming back with their designs, we bring that sort of catalog of designs back to the building owners, and they're able to sort of choose from that book of designs what they think works best for their space. And then, of course, there's sort of an adjustment phase where we design based off the building dimensions and other sort of neighborhood characteristics. They're shared out with key stakeholders, and then they go through city permits and entitlements. So these obviously came through design review already. And then we work on installation, which we'll get to in a second. Next slide, please. So this artist, Thao Nguyen, she's a Korean Vietnamese illustrator. We think she's really a real rising star in the Cleveland art scene. And I'm excited to show you all her design. Next slide, please. These are just a few context slides, so you can see this is right at city limits for, we're on Larchmere Boulevard, located in the Fiddlehead Gallery. That orange square there is the wall that we're looking at. This is obviously a great pedestrian corridor. This is a very walkable neighborhood. The material that we're looking at for these murals, they're heat applied vinyl, so they get large format printed and then heat shrunk onto the building. We like this material, building owners like this material, because if the mural were to ever get damaged, we could just take off a patch of that and then replace some additional. So you can't see the wall in this photo, it's right behind us or to our right. The wall is to your right in this photo. To our left out of view in this photo. You can see it straight on to the left there. And then here's the facade we're looking at, roughly 35 wide by 10.5 tall. We're kind of working in between two courses of soldier bricks here. So there's a soldier course above the sidewalk that we kind of try to draw the murals up from a few inches just to prevent salt and the elements from interfering with the material too much. And then there's another soldier course that divides the first and second stories. So we'd be working between those two sort of vertical cues there, as well as there's some window openings that are obviously blocked out in this shot. But here's the design. So again, this came to us via the design competition and Fiddlehead Gallery, as well as the building owner for that space. Really love this design. They thought it worked well for the space. Just a few kind of sort of revisions that we wanted to work through that came to us not in design review, but actually other public meetings. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes to remind me what the names of those were.
One was a large
Larchmere.
One was the Larchmere Merchants Association.
Yeah, so we presented this in front of Design Review, Larchmere Merchants Association, as well as the Shaker Square Alliance, who they really were supportive, but just had some specific suggestions to remove the walker from the senior lady. They didn't like that element. They said, we're really vibrant. We don't use walkers. So they didn't love that element. And they also would like to kind of include a child in a wheelchair, or some other sort of mobility assistance device, just to sort of reference the nearby Sunbeam School. We're open to those suggestions, and you can kind of see how we've laid out where we think we would make those changes. So swapping out the cyclist with a child in a wheelchair and just removing the walker. So the reason that you don't see those reflected here is just because we're kind of beyond that scope with our artists. We can only go back to them so many times and ask them to make revisions, because obviously we're paying for that every single time. So we would just ask you to kind of creatively think about how that would be changed. But you can see that the artist would be more than able to make those changes, just swapping out a few elements there. So we're presenting the current image, just noting those requests from the community, and would ask for conditional approval to proceed with those two changes and anything else you all may have. So I'll of course take questions or comments, but I would just maybe open it up to Tara and pause on this rendering slide.
Thank you. This was approved unanimously by the Euclid Corridor Buckeye Design Review back on June 5th. Initially, this was to come to you guys on the 6th, but when they reached out to Council President Griffin, with this being in his word, he did push back and say, hey, I want my constituents engaged in this process. And so Destination Cleveland did pivot to talk to the Larchmere Merchants, the Shaker Square Alliance, to come to this and make sure that they had incorporated any potential issues. As far as I remember from the meeting with Euclid Corridor, it's up here now, that they did want the mural moved up on the building to account for snow and salt in the winter months. So that was the only condition for that. And I'm in support of it. I think it's a good location for this mural. Thank you.
Commission members?
A second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Luker,
Yes.
Gray Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Light.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're here for the next one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, item number 15, Chocolate City Cleveland mural project.
Excellent, thank you. So where do I start with this one? I guess I want to clarify first off the bat. So the mural that you saw previously is part of our Murals Across the City program, and we hope to do 3 of those this year. This is a separate project, so it's another mural. It's not part of that larger project. This kind of comes to us by the way of the National Association of Black Journalists and National Urban League conferences that are coming to Cleveland this summer. So NABJ will be in July, coming up here pretty soon, National Urban League is in July, and National Association of Black Journalists comes to us later in mid-August. So these are obviously huge events that we, as Destination Marketing and Management Organization, the Convention Visitors Bureau, we have a lot to deal with, their planning and whatnot. So we really wanted to work to, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm losing my notes here. We wanted to, I'm so sorry. Both organizations really, as part of their conferences, they're having a lot of events and tours and experiences in the Glenville neighborhood, which are referential to Cleveland's Black history. And there's a lot of great sites in Glenville, but there's a lot of sites that are no longer physically there. And so as part of Third Space Action Lab's Chocolate Cities Cleveland tour, we wanted a work of art that really represented some of those sites that are no longer physically in the neighborhood as a way of kind of keeping their story alive. So let's maybe page through some of these context sites so we can see where we're looking. We're on 105 in Superior. So the wall that we're looking at, the facade, is to your right in this image. So this is obviously a major pedestrian and vehicular intersection. There's a lot of good traffic here. The facade we're looking at is off to our left. This is the building entrance. We're not working on the building entrance. We're working on the 105 side. And then we can pause on this facade slide here. The wall is 36 wide by 12 feet tall. Same thing here, would be lifted slightly off the base just to prevent the elements or any sort of thing like that from interfering with the work itself. This building is the Cleveland Rape Crisis Center's human trafficking drop-in center. So we've developed a real good partnership with them, being cognizant of the work that they do and not wanting to interfere with that in any sort of way. So let's go to the next slide, please. Same material as the last presentation you saw. This is heat applied vinyl, again, large format printed, easy to replace by heating, removing, putting a new panel on. Next slide, please. And this is our fabulous design by Lacey Talley. Lacey Talley is another rising artist, rising star in the Cleveland art scene. You can see some of the sites that she celebrates here, the Hubbub Record Shop, Glenville High School, which she's a graduate of. Actually, she's really great. We were just so happy to see her submission come through. You see Cafe Tijuana highlighted in the center there, as well as the tennis courts. We can go to the next slide, please. There's a design rendering. And then I think the next slide is just artist statement. But I might ask you to pause on the rendering, and then we can go to Tara before questions or comments on this.
Can we go back to the rendering? Thank you. I, in full transparency, was a part of the selection committee for the artists. We got some really great local artists submit some different ideas. And we landed on this particular artist and her rendering based on her fulfilling the goals of the Third Space Action Lab's agenda or objectives for the neighborhood. It was approved unanimously by Northeast Design Review on June 17th with the condition that the mural, instead of going edge to edge, would just lift it up at the bottom to avoid the elements, but have the edging around the entire mural so the brick frames the work. I'm glad that it's a local artist. I think she really honored neighborhood institutions, past and present, really well. And it feels like a respectful nod to the past as well as a portal to the future. And it's vibrant and colorful, and that's an intersection that is very dull and intimidating. And I think this is a nice addition to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have a comment about, again, I think when we begin to tell people what to do with their work, I think it's out of bounds. I don't think telling an artist not to let it bleed out and just on the edges is appropriate. I mean, that's what the artist envisioned. In other words, why are they telling artists where to start and stop her mural? Would they?
I think it's where the snow.
No, I get the base. They said an entire perimeter. Why? It's because they have the ability to like force their will on what this artist is doing. That's not for them to decide. I guess that's my point. I'm not trying to be difficult here, but is that does the artist intend the border to be around that mural? That's my point. So you're almost creating a frame around this mural, and then it's a mural. It's not a painting. You're not creating a framework to put a painting in. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm not trying to be difficult, but I think that's beyond.
Yeah, to Commissioner Fluker's point, I think in the previous example where there's like, articulation of brickwork, like the soldier course or something like that, it makes sense. Kind of forcing like that boundary unnecessarily and without coordination with the artist, I agree. It's like, not giving them the full on intent. I think the kind of example where we're lifting it up 8 inches just for snow removal across the board on all of these kind of makes sense, but kind of reinforcing kind of unnecessary kind of boundary. I would agree that let the artist make that kind of decision.
Well, you all can override that particular condition as a planning commission.
That was my intent.
I figured.
I can make a motion that the Chocolate City Cleveland mural project be as presented.
Sorry, Vice Chair, just a clarifying question. So there is a note here in our agenda. So do we have permission to remove, or not remove, excuse me, but note that we're not imposing this recommendation? Does that need to be included in the motion, I guess? That's my question.
I don't.
Your motion is the official action. So the design review input is just recommendations to the commission. If the motion doesn't speak to that condition, then it's not part of the approval.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay, but are we in agreement, sorry to delay this motion, about the lower portion for like snow purposes? I know we're.
Yes.
Right, okay. So that would need to be then included in the motion, correct?
Yes, if you want to specify that.
So I should say that the lower portion of the mural does not have to be raised.
Yeah, it does.
It does have to be raised
For weather purposes.
for weather purposes.
It won't be framed.
Yeah.
That's your also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Member. Roll call, please.
Anthony?
Yes.
Fluker?
Yes.
Gray Scott?
Yes.
Sargent?
Yes.
Slide?
Yes.
And I just want to make a comment. I think what should happen in these design review, and I think, Tara, you agree with me, there should be instructions. All right, you're here not to change the content, because I've seen that happen before.
Right.
You're not here to enforce your will or your predilection for order on artists, because that's why we hire them. That's why we engage them. And we want to make sure that these artists don't feel like they've been compromised.
That's
right?
fair.
You're trying to celebrate culture. You're trying to celebrate bringing art in as an economic engine in the city, and putting those types of constraints, in my professional opinion, is wrong. So just wanted to have my say there. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we have mandatory referral, item number 717, 2025. I believe we have Rick here. Mr. Swatowski.
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? All right, our first item is ordinance 717-2025. We're seeking authorization to issue an encroachment permit for installing and maintaining a Ohio historical marker for a record rendezvous rehabilitation at 300 East Prospect Avenue. The next slide is simply, there you go. This is an aerial view of where the building is located at. And if you go to the following slide, unfortunately, Google Earth had an older photo that there's a major remodeling restoration of that building. This is a photo from this morning, kind of showing how the building currently looks, just so they don't think it looks that way. So go to the next slide, please. Some historical images of record rendezvous. And you can go to the following one. I just had a little information I found interesting, want to share with you. Leo Mintz in 1952 convinced Cleveland DJ Alan Freed to play a rock and roll song on his radio show in 49. Mr. Freed and Record Rendezvous sponsored the first rock and roll concert, considered the first in the country, and helped rock and roll musicians get publicity. That particular concert was called the Moondog Coronation Ball. So there's a lot of history over here, and they want to celebrate it by putting in a historic sign.
Bet you young folks never been to a record store, have you?
Well, I think I might have the most expensive record collection.
Okay.
I got 70.
Music was meant to be heard on tapes.
Commission members.
I make a motion for approval of ordinance number 717-20. I make a motion to approve ordinance number 717-2025.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray Scott.
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Blythe.
Yes.
I'll amend my comment and not include our young person on the oh, okay, on the dais. Okay, he's cooperated his assertion. Oh, you here for the next one? Okay.
I am.
Mandatory referral 718-2025.
Have a few people that are going to speak more to the trail itself. I'll talk about the encroachment. Want to introduce yourselves?
Phil Kidd, I am the Complete and Green Street and Trails Manager for MoCap. I'm joined by Andrew Stelke from Cleveland Metroparks. He's the project manager for this project.
Thank you. This is ordinance 718-2025 requesting an authorization for an encroachment for installing and maintaining a 10-foot wide asphalt multi-purpose trail. You can see in the next photo, or slide, I should say, the trail is outlined in yellow, crosses through the country's trees in the mountainous area over there. Then it connects back down to Old Lorraine Road, and the encroachment itself actually starts, you see that the towers of the hospital, the one that's pointed downwards, that's about where the encroachment begins, and then it ends at the road itself, because that becomes Fairview Park's roadway over there. You can also see in that kind of Y, can you go back one? Just point out. At the very top, you make out like a Y that's in purple. That's an existing trail that this one connects into. And with the next slide, I'll turn it over to our guest and Phil to describe the trail itself and where they're at in construction, and we can go from there.
Sure. I'll let Andrew handle the details of this, and if we want to have any conversation about how this connects to a larger network afterwards, by any means. But Andrew, go for it.
All right. Thank you. Andrew Stelke, Cleveland Metroparks. We're very excited to finally be getting this trail project underway. We've been working with the city. The city has funded a portion of this project in the amount of $750,000. We've been working very closely for years, Councilman Slife, to get this thing moving, working with the neighborhood. And the portion of the project running down the hillside, in a very steep location, does go into the city's right-of-way. So this work would include, in this right-of-way portion, a 10-foot wide paved trail,
and some drainage, a little bit of additional curbing along Old Lorraine Road, and then some additional curbing down at the Little Met Golf Course entrance. Construction has begun on a portion of this trail up the hillside over in our own property and in the Cleveland Metro or Cleveland Clinic property. And we're looking at moving into further trail construction this year with a goal of completion by June or July of 2026.
Any questions on just the trail itself, or should we continue with any, or the encroachment request?
Oh, I can say, as a young person going down that road is crazy. So this is a welcome addition. Mr. Slife?
I think it's good. I'll move approval.
A second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McRae Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Life.
Yes.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend, everyone.
You all too. We have pretty.
So it's not on your agenda, but
Oh, it's unnumbered. Okay.
Oh, not me though.
Are you still here? Oh, who's here for?
This one is from the Department of Economic Development, and this is added to the agenda due to the council schedule of summer recess. This is one we learned about just this morning, but we're glad to accommodate to allow city business to move forward.
Okay, so this is unnumbered mandatory referral concerning tax increment financing agreement with Twain SB LLC.
Good morning, everyone. Bobby Bruno here from Economic Development, joined by CJ Oli, who's joined us as an intern this summer. First off, thank you for the flexibility this morning. And so we will be bringing TIF legislation forward with your approval for the Bell project. So to kind of orient you, the location is 45 East 9th Street. So that's catty corner to where we're sitting. That's the southeast corner of Lakeside and 9th Street. And so the subject property is the former AT&T Ohio Bell headquarters. That's a 16-story, 530 square foot building. AT&T vacated that in 2019 before the COVID pandemic, actually. So the developers have gone in and looked to redevelop this into a mixed-use community. So Twain SB3 LLC is the owner of this. They're based out of St. Louis, Missouri. And so the redevelopment project is turning the majority of the office space into 367 market rate apartment units, primarily 1 to 2 bedroom units. And then there's about 51,000 square feet of commercial space subject to improvements and completion for tenants. Creation of 15 new jobs at the property to manage the residential community, and $750,000 of annual payroll to be created. And so our request this morning is to move forward with a 100% non-school TIF. Normally when we're here to talk about TIF projects, it's to ask for permission to enter into the chain of title. Interesting history of this property. The city actually was in the property's chain of title back in the 1960s, prior to sort of Erie View's initial development. So we are just going to have the TIF legislation, no chain of title process required on this. So as the TIF goes, it would be a 100% 30-year TIF, not affecting school funding. And this would just be on the commercial improvements subject to be completed. So this would really be like a TIF on $5 million of the $130 million project that's occurred there. So very minimal. We are estimating that will benefit the developer about $4.2 million over the 30-year term. And in that time, the city and the school district will experience an increase in about $12.6 million in both income tax revenues and payments in lieu of those real property taxes from the TIF. And the last thing I can really mention about this is that it will, of course, be subject to a community benefits agreement that's been agreed to with the Office of Equal Opportunity. Elements of that include using CPP as the power provider, allowing nonprofits to use the conferencing space, and the standard Chapter 187, 188 provisions. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Commission members?
Will they add windows?
I'm sorry?
Will they add windows? Isn't this the building that has no windows? AT&T building?
There should already be a lot of windows. I think there's kind of like a side of it that's like a curved side. That's where a lot of the apartments face out.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any additional windows.
I remember being in that building years ago. Maybe it was the section I was in. No windows. It was very creepy.
Well, hopefully there's no apartment units in that area of it.
Any further comments or questions? I'll move approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray, Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
and Slight.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you all.
We have a slate of approximately 10 administrative items under approvals. As y'all take a quick look at that.
And Chair, if I can clarify, there are 3 on the agenda for approval today. In the interest of transparency and information sharing, we added some that are anticipated. Again, administrative approvals following the July 9th council meeting. So the ones that are listed as for information only will be coming for formal approval at our July 11th commission meeting.
Okay, thank you. I will move approval of administrative approvals.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anthony,
Yes.
Fluker,
Yes.
McCray, Scott,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
and Slight.
Yes. Thank you. Director's report.
Thank you. I'll be very brief today. Want to share some good news from ODOT that the city received over the last week or so. We were awarded $1 million in Safe Routes to School funding for safety improvements for kids walking and biking to school along the East 55th Street corridor between Outhwaite and the lakefront. This fits in with our larger efforts to improve safety along the entire corridor as well as neighborhood access to recreation along the lake. So we're very excited about that. Also proud to say that was the top award statewide. So we always like to see money coming into Cleveland. This is 100% from the state, no local match required. Just a really nice award coming to our community. My other announcements are just to remind folks that the North Coast Yard is open and available for recreation and fun on the lakefront. So please check it out if you have not already. Also, along the themes of continuing our improvements of public space and community placemaking activity, Brittany Pabon and I will be hosting some community engagement around the West 29th Street, Open Street on July 10th. We'll be meeting with businesses in the afternoon and then available at the intersection of West 29th Street and Church Avenue to talk with community members about our final proposal for that open street space. As many of you may remember, that was a sort of temporary installation toward the end of the summer last year, and we're working on finalizing and implementing the permanent improvements this summer. And that's all I have for today.
Oh, thank you, Director. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.